Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are still on to your favorite program, Democracy and Rule of Law, a special program of Galaxy Television. In this episode, we are going to look at the second topic for the day, and which has to do with Rivers State, or with its harvest of crisis last year, and which has moved over to this year, 2025. In Rivers State recently, the governor presented his budget to the three-man member House of Assembly, three faction, and they passed the appropriation bill into law. The question is it proper in the circumstances for only three members of the House of Assembly to pass the budget?
Well, it's very difficult to say because of the circumstances around this particular issue. Of course, you know that almost 27 members of that House are still fighting a battle for their life, whether they are still members of the House or not. And of course, the courts have decided at some level that they are no longer member of that House. And I think they are on appeal. As at now, they are on appeal on the issue. So one cannot really say one way or the other which way to go. But if we are to follow the strict provision of the Constitution, if the judiciary will follow the strict provision of the Constitution, those 27 members of that House, I think we have said it here on this platform severally, that they cease to be members of that House, having announced themselves as members of a new political party, and to the extent of singing the personal song of the president on air, the personal APC song, on your mandate we stand, which is obviously clear that they have changed position. Now, I do not think it is proper for them to still claim to be members of the House. The only way they can do that is if the court says that final court of the land, that's the Supreme Court, says they are still members of that land. And I don't see the Supreme Court giving such a decision that will be completely contrary to the provision of the Constitution, because the Supreme Court will be setting a very terrible precedent. And I pray that day does not happen, that the Supreme Court will be giving a judgment that those who have left a House of Assembly are still members of that House for any reason whatsoever, whether they have been accepted in that party, because the argument is that they were not fully accepted in the political party that they were going to, that they were not giving cards there. Therefore, they are still in that. But
that argument does not follow.
It cannot hold,
because what the Constitution says is very clear and very explicit.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court itself has said that once the provisions of a Constitution is clear, there is no need for it to be interpreted in a way that will favor a person or the applicant. Yes, it has to be given its literal interpretation. And the Constitution said that where a person gets an office on the platform of a political party, that if he resigns or defects from that party without proof that there was a major crisis in that party, or that there was a merger or any other thing, that such a person loses his seat. And to that extent, the members of the Legislative Assembly who defected from the party on the basis of which they were elected cease to retain their seats. And that is in tandem with the decision of the Supreme Court that it is the party that wins election, not the candidates. And if that is the case, and like you said, it is now those people have already lost their seats.
If we are to build up on that, then it follows that as of today, the only legitimate members of that House are those three or four members of the House that are subsisting. The proper thing was that INEC should have conducted election to fill up the vacancy. And they have been called on INEC. INEC itself is complicit to the crisis that we are having now in Rivers State by the continuous refusal of INEC to do what they are constitutionally empowered to do, to fill up the seats in those constituencies where those 27 members are from. So, to that extent, you cannot blame the governor passing an appropriation bill with the numbers of people that are regularly, validly, and legally
and legitimate members
of the House of Assembly. So that position should be clear to every one of us. Yes. Some people may say, well, how come, since the matter is in court? Now, even if the matter is in court, you cannot stop the process of a governance.
Yes, there can't be a vacuum.
There cannot be a vacuum in governance.
Yes.
So, to my mind, it is not wrong for the governor to present his budget to the legitimate members of that house, whether they are 3 or 4 or 6, notwithstanding.
Yes. Yes. Now that the governor has presented his budget and has been passed, and the INEC has failed to conduct election, on the part of INEC, they may say that there were orders restraining them from conducting election. Of course, we know that in Rivers, there were conflicting judgments and orders of courts. One court will say this part, the defected members of the Rivers State Assembly have ceased to be members, and that election should be conducted to fill the vacancies created by their cessation as members of the State Assembly. Another court will now say no, they remain members and restrain INEC from conducting election. Now, in view of all this conflicting judgment and others, what do you think should be a solution to the Rivers State crisis?
I think the solution first will be a political solution. And that is the need for the Nigerian people to come into the Rivers case against the man that is creating this, and the complicity of the president in this matter. I mentioned that you were against me when I mentioned that issue on one of our occasions. That if the president of the federation is not permitting Wike to do what he's doing as his minister, Wike will not have that audacity to do what he's doing. And of course, you can see the use of federal might in the use of the police in Rivers State, even against the governor. Remember, the governor was almost shot at an event sometime last year over this same matter. Mm-hmm. And for an individual to hold a nation, a state to ransom, I think it's becoming a tragedy it's becoming a tragedy that all of us, that all Nigerian people should step in and say enough is enough. Enough is enough for Wike. Enough is enough for the federal government that is permitting him to destabilize a state. Because what he's doing now is waging war against a state to the knowledge of the president. And no man has power or authority to wage war against. What Wike is doing is unlawful, is unconstitutional. For one man to attack in his own state and try to ground the process of governance of his state is waging war against the state. And it is treasonable. It is treasonable to the extent that it is intended to destabilize the governance of that state. So enough is enough. The president should stop Wike immediately. And if the president wants to say, let him continue, then the president should bear the responsibility of all that is happening in Rivers State.
Now, don't you think that...
because Wike is still a minister of the president. And the president cannot claim not to know what is going on in that state.
I don't think that a political solution may not be a real solution because the politicians have not been following the constitution as it were.
How do you enforce a law for, even if you get a court order, how do you enforce it against?
Don't you think that it's better to allow the courts to use the constitution and other extant laws to resolve the imbroglio in Rivers State? Because Wike is a politician and he has use other politicians there to try to destabilize the state. And then this excuse that the people that defected from the State House Assembly were not accepted. The Constitution did not say whether they are accepted by another party or not. What is important that they have defected from the party. Now, since the Constitution is there, and the constitution regulates these things, is it not better that our courts should resolve that matter once and for all?
Well, that is the proper thing to do, to allow the courts to decide. But Nigeria is over-politicized, and we have elevated politics and politicking above governance, above what is right, above what is just, above what is legal. And that's why this comedy of error in Rivers State seems to be persisting. And that's why I said that when I said political solution, I wasn't talking about the politicians solving it among themselves. I'm talking about the Nigerian people, the Rivers State people, standing up against what is happening by making their presentation known to the president and to the National Assembly and to all the organs of government to put an end to what Wike is doing in that state.
Yes, but I'm aware that some people in Rivers State have come out to condemn what is happening there. Some of them have blamed them. Wike, they have come out loud and clear to say that Wike should allow the governor to rule the state. And then the governor is even antagonizing some of them for coming out to tell him to allow the governor to go about and do his bidding as the governor.
Then I think the governor himself will now have to take responsibility for the state. Because the governor has powers to... Wike is not immune. Under Section 308, Wike is not immune.
Yes, he doesn't enjoy immunity under the law.
He doesn't enjoy any immunity.
Yes.
So the governor should use his executive power to restrain him, to stop him from these actions, once and for all.
How?
And there are many ways the governors can do that.
How?
Through the use of the police. The governor can call for the arrest of Wike, and there's nothing he's going to do to answer for all the crimes he had committed in that state.
You see, the issue of using police, brings to our mind the issue that has been in the front burner for a time, the issue of state police.
Yes.
If in the past, the police acted contrary to the directives or instructions of the governor, do you think now that the story will change?
Well, that's why it's unfortunate that and that's why I said that the powers that Wike is banking on or is using is the federal might. The fact that he knows that the police cannot do anything to him. Okay? That's the only thing he has. And that he has the executive powers by virtue of being the minister of the federal capital. To me, that's the only leverage, political leverage he's using. But the truth of it is that if it can be declared wanted in that state, and anytime he enters that state, he can be arrested. Wike can be arrested to answer for the charges for the crimes he had committed in that state. The act of destabilizing the state is not. There are laws in that state. There are regulations. There are criminal procedure laws in that state. There are criminal laws in that state. So the governor should use those laws to ensure that either Wike, anytime he enters Rivers State, is arrested and allowed to face the trial. Let's see what the president will now do.
Don't you think that may be aggravating the problem in Rivers State? Because you know that already there are two factions, the Wike faction and the governor's faction.
I'm not talking about faction. I'm not interested in the faction. I'm talking about due governance of that state.
Yes, and we are saying the same thing in different ways.
Yes.
That if Wike is arrested,
yes,
if it's possible, why I say if it's possible, because for now in Nigeria we don't have state police.
Yes.
And I'm aware that in the past, before the present regime, a particular governor of a state called the president, not the current president, a former president, and was put on hold for over an hour. He couldn't talk to the president because of intended invasion of herdsmen in Enugu State, to be precise.
Okay.
Now, do you think that the governor will have those police to go after Wike in the present structure of the Nigerian police?
What the proper step for the governor to take now,
yes,
is to instruct his attorney general to prefer charges against Wike, and let Wike face those charges. Let's see whether the police will arrest him or not. And if he does not appear to defend himself in that case, then we will know whether we are practicing democracy or autocracy. The attorney general of that state should immediately prefer charges against Wike to face those charges in that state. Because what he's doing now we cannot continue to have this banana republic that we are calling democracy. Nigeria is fast becoming a banana republic, a pariah state. And we cannot allow this comedy of error to continue. So I think something has to be done. The governor has to put down his feet.
Apart from criminal charges, are there other options you think could be resorted to in the circumstances?
Well, not much, because the Wike is outside apart from the element of that is one of the is from that state. Okay, all the other issues are his responsibility to the federal government, and to that extent you cannot interfere in that. There is no way that you can interfere in official duties as the minister of the federation. But the governor, and I keep saying and I'm still saying it, should instruct his attorney general immediately to prefer charges in court in Rivers State against Wike for all these crimes that he had been committing in the state. And I think that will put this matter to an end. And all those who are also Wike supporters who are committing atrocities. You saw what happened during the local government, the closure of the local government headquarters.
That's why I was,
the destruction, the carnage, and all of those things that went on in that state. We cannot continue to go this way.
Do you think that the Attorney General, as the chief law officer of Rivers State, can maintain a civil action against Wike to stop him from doing certain things that are against the laws of the state, bearing in mind that criminal charges are such that the person needs to be there to make statement?
Yes, he will have to make statement.
And then who will arrest him?
Is the best. If you go by way of civil, it will be regarded as ad hominem. And you cannot restrain a man from doing acts that are private to him.
No, if there are actions that are against the state, he is taking some actions that are against the interest of the state.
Of course, you know
the court can restrain
the state that can do or claim for his damages.
Apart from damages, if there is a restrictive order, an order of injunction,
there has to be a civil relief first. There has to be a course of action. A civil course of action.
Yes, that's what we are saying. That don't you think there could be such a possibility? Bearing in mind that if we are to go through the route of criminal charges,
yes,
he needs to be apprehended.
But I will tell you, people like Wike will not respond to civil allegation. In fact, they will even like it. Somebody like him will like civil causes being filed in.
Do you think that the police will go ahead to arrest him?
Whether he's arrested or not, once you prefer a charge against him filed by the Attorney General of the state, then the federal government and the police system will have a duty. A court can order his arrest. A court can order the arrest of Wike, and there's nothing the president will do to protect him. Nothing, absolutely nothing that the president will do to protect him, because he's not immune. He does not enjoy the immunity under Section 308.
We agree that he has no immunity.
So, to that extent, Wike is not beyond the law and is not above the law. This idea that nothing can be done to him is what I find distasteful.
Now, let's look at it from another angle. We know Wike officially belongs to People's Democratic Party.
Yes.
Officially.
Yes.
On record, on paper.
Yes.
But his activities appear to tend to be that of another party. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's obvious that you can imagine just about some days ago, even Senator Magnus Abbey, even in a forum called by Wike himself, confronted Wike of anti-party activities.
Mm-hmm. That
he himself and Wike, they are all guilty of anti-party. But unfortunately, PDP is almost a toothless bulldog now. Because if you look at the structure of PDP today, PDP is still in what do I call it? You know, when you put somebody under life support in the hospital.
In coma.
Almost in coma. Under life support. So they have not mustered the courage to be able to put Wike's act to an end. Obviously, his anti-party activities.
And then if his anti-party activities, don't you think there's a reason for him to be expelled from that party?
But the party cannot do it, even if the party wish to do it.
Why?
Because the chairman of the party is an ally of Wike. The present chairman of the party is an ally. You saw what happened during the next meeting.
Yes.
For him to even be allowed and dictate what will happen in the next meeting, that's an aberration. So the political party cannot do anything. You are seeing what is happening even in the restructuring of APC, where the national chairman is asking that the authentic ESCO of the APC in the state should be handed over to a weakest man. And all of that, how the executive had to go to court against his own national chairman to say that we are the one who are entitled to be the executive of the state.
Yes.
So you can see that there is undue confusion going on in that state as a result of one man's actions. So, and I think the earlier we put this to an end, to a final stop, the better for all of us.
Do you think our democratic experiments can make any meaningful progress in view of all these political aberrations?
We cannot. Don't let us deceive ourselves. We cannot. The way Nigerian politicians are playing politics, there is a need for all of us to stand up and stand for what is right in this country. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate the way we are derailing from what democratic practice is all about. Nigerian politicians are no longer following the law. They have no respect for the courts. They have no respect for the police system. They have no respect for order. They don't even have respect for the nation. You can see a very practical example. The president comes into the National Assembly to present a budget, and you are not even singing the national anthem. You are singing the anthem of the president, personal anthem of the president. I think it's an aberration. Some of these things are happening, and all of us are quiet. We are all looking at it. But it's a comedy of error. As far as I see, as far as I take it. It's
for what is happening in this country, who do we hold responsible? Is it the Nigerian nation, the Nigerian populace?
All are complicit.
Or just the politicians?
It's not only politicians. We have allowed even the politicians to play this game for too long. The Nigerian people don't have a front for advocacy of good governance.
What do you think about civil rights organization and the Nigerian Bar Association?
Most of them they are almost frustrated already. There's not much activism going on, either from NLC, the labor unions, or the student union. In our days, you know what we did during our time.
Yeah.
You know how far we went in those years.
Yes.
So it's really unfortunate. The young people today, they are not really active. They are not active in any way. And the judiciary too is not helping the nation. Almost all the institutions of state are being completely taken over. So what do? But we just have to keep talking about democracy and the rule of law.
In addition to talking about it, what else do you think we can do?
Advocacy, enlighten our people. Some of these issues, the Nigerian people should take it up. Unfortunately, we don't have elders in this country. We don't have traditional rulers. All our traditional rulers, they are playing to the whims of the people in government. These politicians, they are not able to tell them the truth. And that's why we are in this mess that we are in. Obviously, they may not consider it as a mess. But it's a mess, if you really look at it. So I think, and those of us who are professionals, the best we can do is what we are doing now. To try to help the Nigerian people to understand that there are principles and precepts in democracy, and the rule of law. The law has stated certain things the way they should be done. So let's try and follow the law. The law will help us, if we are following the law, it will help us to follow the standard practices that will help our nation to have good governance, to have peace, to have law and order. But when we derail from all of that, what we are looking for is anarchy. And that's what is going on now.
Thank you very much. And Nigeria don't need anarchy.
We need good governance.
We need good governance. We need peace. We need growth in our economy, advancement in our democratic principles and all that. Well, we'll be drawing the curtain here, but then I want you to give our viewers your final words on the Edo State episode and then the Rivers State.
Yes, I want to appeal to the governor of that state, because the buck still falls at his table, that he should exercise serious restraint. I know that he may not be happy with the previous government, or maybe there are disagreements that he has with the previous government, but he should not allow that to ground the process of governance of that state by trying to wage war against the political process, the political order of that state, which is what he's doing now. I think he should restrain himself and he should cooperate with the people so that there can be good governance in that state. People need to know what are his programs. And even these local government people, they can help him to achieve his objectives and his program. So he should not look at it that because they are not from his political party, therefore. And that's why the law is there. The law is to checkmate the excesses of his party.
Yes.
That's why this interregnum of a local government system being controlled by another party, a governor coming in from a different political party. That's why it is put in place.
Yes, we have checks and balances.
Checks and balances.
Yes.
So that's the only
River State, yes.
I still maintain that the Attorney General of that state, the governor should instruct the Attorney General immediately to put an end to this Wike Act by taking a criminal action against Wike. And those who are backing Wike, whether it is the police system or I'm sure they will now sit tight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deji Olalaye. There has been an insightful program today. And to esteemed viewers, we will be drawing the curtain here. Meet us next Sunday, same time, when we will have more trending, insightful issue that has to do with democracy and rule of law. We believe and endorse that the law is supreme. The constitution is the ground norm. It is the law that's above every other law. And anything done by anybody, no matter who that person is, that is not consistent with the provisions of the constitution is null and void. In Edo State, the law must prevail. In River State, the law must prevail.